Travel isn't just about destinations. It's about the people you meet, the cultures you immerse yourself in, the stories you carry home. I'm Relebogile Mabocha, and on my travel feature, I take you on a journey beyond the guidebook. Each week, I connect with fellow travelers, insiders, and storytellers to bring you the heart of every place. Whether it's a hidden gem right here in South Africa or a dream destination abroad. Join me as we travel through conversations, memories, and inspiration. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Relationship issues,
Relationship talk.
on 702.
9 minutes now after 11 o'clock on our relationship feature this morning. We're talking about the importance of compatibility in relationships. Do you believe in compatibility, or is it an illusion? I mean, most of us have a type. Eh? How many times do we talk to our friends and we say, what's your type? We have a type, someone who checks all our boxes on paper and we are compatible with, right? But what does romantic compatibility look like in a relationship, and how important is it, right? It's an ingredient in relationship that is important because it is the basis of how well you and your partner get along. So it's crucial for a healthy, fulfilling relationship. And I'm not just talking here about things like being physically attracted to each other or having, complementary astrology signs, because that may indicate surface level compatibility. But true compatibility often involves sharing the same values, your beliefs, what else? Interests, your goals, your lifestyle. So in the absence of compatibility, couples actually struggle with some challenges. Couples often experience constant conflict. There's misunderstanding, there's unhappiness, which ultimately leads to the breakdown of the relationship. So how compatible are you with your partner? And is compatibility something that is important in your relationship? Have you been with someone perhaps you were not compatible with? What was that one thing that showed you that you were not compatible? You can share your experiences with us on 011-883-0702. The WhatsApp line is 072-702-1702. Dudu Nhlabathi-Madonsela is a relationship coach who's going to guide us through this conversation, who's in studio with us. Dudu, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for coming through to talk about something so important. And I must say from the beginning and that's why I'm asking, because there are some people who feel like compatibility is an illusion. It's not always that you're going to find someone that you sort of share the same interests with. And most of those people, I sometimes call them, I know my worth brigade. Those?
When there's a shortage of places, everyone is high value and they know their worth. All of a sudden,
I'm like, So let's start with that. Why is compatibility so important in a relationship?
So if you define what compatibility is, it's shared values. It's values that are compatible with each other. And what happens is that our values shape our decisions and also shape our behaviors and what we prioritize and deprioritize. And most of the time, you'll hear people talk about, I only found out about his money habits, or I found out about his views around where we want to send our kids to school when we got married.
Are you kidding me?
Yes.
You didn't have that chat?
Well, even if you could have that chat, right? But I mean, it's what to look out for.
Yeah.
Because, like, for example, if my husband had a chat with me around my money habits, of course, baby, I'm responsible with my money. Right now, I'm his biggest liability.
That's so true.
Yeah, he calls me his biggest liability. But it's around just being able to see in terms of what do you value. And because your values inform your behavior. Mm-hmm. And I think most of the time, most people do not know their values. And they do not know how to assess their values. And sometimes when some people know their values, they also don't understand what compatibility entails from a values perspective. So we might be a couple, right? And what your value number 1 might be my value number 5. But it doesn't necessarily mean we are not compatible. Just means that at this point in your life, what you're prioritizing is very different to what I'm prioritizing. Yeah. And you see that a lot when people are ready to get married. When our value is family and the girl is like, I'm 35, me, I'm ready. And the guy is like, give me 2 years. I need to build my business and so forth. And the girl sits there wondering, like, does this guy really, really value family? But it's actually the timing and the priority of those values. And a lot of people do not understand this. And hence why when people come to me for coaching, the first thing I make them do is a values exercise. It's free. It's online. makes you understand what your values are. But most people don't know how to articulate them.
That is so fascinating, Dudu. I think that's so fascinating because, I mean, how many times do we have these conversations with our partners where someone else, to use the child example, may not be ready, not because they don't want children, but the timing is just not it.
Yeah.
I mean, because we've not fully assessed those values, then sometimes that results in a conflict because you're asking yourself, but you're probably not serious.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't have future plans with me.
And what also is important is what informs your values. So a lot of people would say, I've got standards, right? And if you really look down, deep down into standards, it says, this is what I value in life and this is what I want to be treated and how I want to be treated. So then you say, okay, what informs your standards? And most of the time it's social media, it's TV, it's all these other interesting things. People actually do not understand, why do I want what I want? Why is this important to me? And most of the time I ask people, you must assess your values. Some of them is because of the way you were socialized, right? I always say, people ask, how do women enter a polygamous relationship? I'm like, well, if you were actually born in a polygamous marriage, sometimes polygamy is not a big deal to you because you're informed by how you were particularly socialized, right? So you have to ask yourself, what are the values that I was socialized with? What are some of the things I've adopted as my values? But actually, when I look at it now that I'm grown, I'm actually rejecting them. They no longer serve me.
Yeah.
Because values also evolve. There's some that are very set in a person, but there's some that come because of life experiences. Some of the values also come from a trauma place, right?
Yeah.
Where you're so rigid about what you don't want. But actually, your value is a trauma response. It's not necessarily that it's a value. And those are the things that people don't think about. And I understand, I'm a dating coach, I think about these things all the time, but some of the things I try and teach couples, because what happens is that this Mjolo thing is a pandemic because people are missing each other, because we have a bunch of women who are like, I'm high value, I know my worth, and they walk around with these very, very rigid standards, and they don't ask themselves what informs these values. And then they meet a guy, and this guy is a great guy, but because this guy does not behave like this, does not demonstrate this value in this way, because sometimes we can have the same value, but we don't demonstrate it in the same way. Because he's not demonstrating it, you're so fixated on the behavior and not necessarily the intention. And that's the
Oh my
reason why
God,
people are
Dudu, you
missing
just
each
gave me a
other.
light bulb moment. Like, I've never taken time to assess what informs my values. I've never. And the way you've just explained it makes so much sense, because when you are assessing and you're going internally, what informs this? You're able to also allow your values to evolve. Because sometimes it's informed by how you are socialized. I grew up seeing this in my family or seeing my parents do this. But when you go internally and you look within, sometimes you're able to allow yourself to actually be flexible and evolve those values because you understand what the genesis is, where they come from.
Yeah.
And that's so important. That's work that I need to do. Do you think sometimes we make the mistake of thinking that compatibility is something? I mean, you spoke about values at the center of it, but sometimes people look at like astrology signs, or am I physically attracted to you? Or, oh, do we love playing golf together? If we don't, then they're like, we're not compatible. Or, oh, that person, Dudu, doesn't like traveling and I love traveling. Then we are not compatible.
That's a very complex way to answer that question. And it's around what forms attraction, right? Because what makes you think you're compatible with a person is also the degree into which you are attracted to this person. And a lot of people don't understand what forms attraction. So, for example, there's 3 components that keep people and make people fall in love. It's emotional safety, it's attraction, physical, mental, and emotional attraction, and then it also is inspiration. So most of the time, people sometimes, what happens is that, so for example, emotional safety makes about 50%. So you could be with a person that you love from here to the moon, but if that person is a slay queen and when they walk out the door, you don't know which man is going to be with this woman, you don't feel emotionally safe, right? And so hence, you might find yourself focusing on the wrong aspects of compatibility, but the thing that actually keeps the relationship together with it, which is emotional safety, right? So when people understand what are the components that keep a relationship together, then you can be able to measure what makes us compatible. The fact that the fact that I feel emotionally safe with this person, that I'm intellectually and physically and emotionally attracted to this person, and I'm inspired to do great things when I'm with this person and inspired to do great things for this particular person. when you are able to assess those components and say, to what degree am I driven to do these things because of the fact that when I'm with this person, I feel like the best version of myself, then that's when you are able to assess compatibility. Because what happens is that, my formula is always this, like emotional safety is 50%, then attraction is 30%, and then inspiration is 20%.
Physical attraction is 30%? Dudu?
No, attraction, emotional, intellectual, and physical.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's like 50.
Yeah, those components of attraction. So, and what happens is that some people make the 30% their 50%, right? And the thing is, everybody wants to be with somebody they feel safe with. And I'm not talking just about physical safety, which is important in South Africa, but I'm talking about when you are with a person and you feel like you can be yourself, like you're at ease with this particular person. And there are some people walking around with people who are amazing. They've got 6 packs. They're intelligent. They're CEOs and so forth. But you can't be at ease with this particular person.
Always on edge.
That impacts how compatible you are.
Yeah. It's so interesting because doesn't attraction begin with physical? Because like I have to see Dudu to go, oh, okay.
Yes.
Which is why I've loved this series on Netflix, Love is Blind. I don't know if you've checked it out. But people get into these pods. You don't see the people you're talking to. You just speak with them. They're across they're across the wall, and you just talk. And if you emotionally connect with the person,
yes,
then you guys are gonna end up like now meeting and you're getting married, which I find is a fascinating idea.
I find it bizarre.
Right? But I think like it helps to like, because we have made physical appearances the thing.
But
so
it's not our fault.
Yeah?
So studies that are done, if you take a small babies and you put objects and people in front of them and attractive faces, they're more likely to gravitate towards attractive faces.
Oh my goodness.
We as human beings are designed to find beauty in things, right? So that's why, for example, I tell people, I don't care what your body shape is, how you look like and so forth and whatever. But if you look like the best version of yourself, people notice that, and people gravitate towards that. So it's not our fault that physical attraction is important to us. And also, if you look at also studies around physical attraction to say what informs what is physically attractive to you, from your cultural disposition, right? So, for example, I'm a skinny girl in South Africa, right? I don't have the curves that they have. When I'm outside South Africa, I'm a hit.
You hit America.
In Europe, all the men are like, hey, like they're staring at me. I'm walking with my husband. I'm a hit, right?
Not here.
Yeah, but and I cannot blame a South African guy who's a bit into curves and so forth because of the way he is socialized. So those components, and they are who we are.
So, but as long as you don't make that everything, where someone looks good and you think that's it, I don't care about emotional safety, I don't care about how they treat me, as long as he's got a 6-pack and
I think it's a balance. You cannot make any attribute of attraction the thing. So let's talk about emotional safety, which these shows are based on the fact that we're emotionally attracted to each other, right? So have you ever met somebody whereby, and I always make this example, you meet a guy and this guy like constantly cheats on his partner but goes back to his wife. That thing, he's gonna come back to me. He feels emotionally safe with this person, but he's not attracted to this person. And because emotional safety is 50%, right? It's something that could keep him there for long. But is that a healthy relationship? No, it's not balanced. So if you put too much emphasis on one thing, be it its attraction, emotional safety, and so forth, it's a recipe for disaster. So you have to have a balance. All these components need to be considered in order for you to be in an emotionally fulfilling and healthy relationship.
That's so important. Okay, so how do I put this? Can we compromise on some of the elements of compatibility? Because I used to think, there was a time when I was reading a lot about non-monogamy, some few years back, because I was trying to understand what is it about, because I struggled with the idea that a human being, a Dudu, can fulfill every single part of me. I still struggle with that concept. And I think we put people, our partners, under so much pressure, thinking that they must fulfill.
And there's a reason.
Every bit. Like, for instance, I may be in love with you, but you don't intellectually stimulate me. But I can get that when I'm chilling with my friends or colleagues. So I just feel like sometimes we have this expectation that Dudu must fulfill this, all these 10 things. When in fact, sometimes it's, am I emotionally secure? The important things you mentioned, and I can take that. Other things are missing. I'll find them when I'm talking to friends or whatever.
Do you know what happens in this Mjolo thing? And, this is how I've taken dating coaching, a different approach to how to find a man. We have to realize why we are here. So the example you're making right now to say we are looking into one person to emotionally fulfill us. We've moved away from the sense of community. We have boundaries. We have people are hyper individualistic about their views of the world and so forth. We were never designed to be emotionally fulfilled by one person. We lived as in communities, as a society. You had friends, you had family. Your cup was filled by different elements, right? And everyone had a place. It's like, when you have kids, you might love your partner, but you also love your kids, and they sit in different places in your heart, right? But they emotionally, you will never leave one for the other unless the one is toxic, obviously, because of the fact that they play a different role. And what we've done as a society, and also what has happened in South Africa, is that 1994 we joined the world, hey, and we adopt Western principles, and Western principles are very based on hyper individualism, and this is the reason why the rest of the world has a loneliness problem at the moment, because of the fact that we've moved away from the sense of community. Also from a safety and security perspective, right? We've put ourselves in gated communities and townhouses, and it was for survival purposes, and we've done that. Also, as our economy, especially among the Black collective, as the economy is struggling and we're not growing in high figures and so forth and whatever, Black tax went up and we became overburdened, right? And what did we do? We protected our peace. We formed boundaries around us and so forth and whatever. And now we have like the 1-2 people who get us, who understand us. And now we feel they have to fulfill every single need that we have. And it is because of the fact that societies, we've decided to organize ourselves differently. And, I always say, we are learning. How do we pivot from this? Now we know, how do we make it better for the next generation? Because now we're seeing it.
Yeah. So having a lot in common with your partner, your spouse, doesn't necessarily mean that you are compatible.
No, it actually does mean that you're compatible. It doesn't mean that that person is the only person who can emotionally fulfill you.
Emotionally fulfill you.
Yes.
Got you. All right, let's go to some WhatsApp voice notes. I'm going to ask you to please put on your headphones. 011-883-0702 is the number you can call. The WhatsApp line is 072-702-1702. How compatible are you with your partner, and how do you measure compatibility? Is compatibility something that is important in your relationship? Have you been with someone you were not compatible with, and what was that one thing that showed you that this is not the person to be with?
Clement, I agree. Values influence behavior, but as well as beliefs influence behavior. In my case, I've been struggling to get somebody who's compatible with me in such a way that I don't go to church. I don't want a person who's a deep church goer, who is in the deepest form of religion, like Bazalwane. So, as well as I don't believe in witchcraft. So I also don't want a person who's a deep believer of witchcraft, going to witch doctors, believing things would happen to them if they don't do that and that, and it has been difficult for me to get somebody who's compatible with me in that sense.
Okay, your thoughts on that?
I just love him because the people who come into his life are a mirror, and he's not realizing that they're a mirror. So he's so rigid. Yeah. I don't want. And the people he's describing are also so rigid. I believe in this, it must happen like this. And what happens, the universe pairs them together. So as much as I hear what he's saying, to say that I am an individual, I am unique, I am this person, and I don't want somebody who's going to impose their values, because that's what he's saying. I don't want somebody who's going to impose.
You are then imposing.
Yes, but because both of them, what actually he's looking for is somebody who is flexible, but he needs to be flexible first before he can attract a person who's flexible.
Yeah,
so
and then let's meet each other somewhere. Yeah, because if you say what if the other person also sits on the other side and says I
want a man who's yoked.
Yeah, yoked. Yeah. Oh, Mugara, what the Proverbs? What? What women? Proverbs
I guess
53,
Proverbs 39 or
31.
something like that. But you know, when she becomes a Proverbs what woman, that's when the husband didn't sleep at home. And then you see it on Facebook.
Here's another voice note.
Hey Clem, Mpumelelo here. I remember I was in a relationship for 3 years with this lady that I really wanted to marry. Then one time I was like, actually, can I accompany you to your church? And she was like, okay, no, you can come through, but the pastor, sometimes he does prophecies and you might be uncomfortable with that. I went there, my guy. It was these pastors. I said, go fire, fire. And people fall on the ground and they do all kinds of stuff. It's their religion. It's fine. By the time I walked out of the doors of that place, I knew that this relationship is over.
After, I don't
Too
know,
late.
guys.
You should have explored these things sooner.
Yeah, but also, like, if someone is in a church like that, I mean, is there a reason for you to walk away?
It depends, right? Because some churches are cults. And if you've ever been around a person who's involved in a cult, they are, not indoctrinated, but almost brainwashed. And that can have an impact. I mean, there's some who take the finances of the house and pour it completely into the church,
insane.
right? And where now the values in the home are not co-created by both of you, but the church dictate what happens in the house. So I do understand his concern. I really honestly do. I think the advice I'd give is that these things need to be checked out sooner, not after 3 years.
Some must know to do like what your religion, like what church you go to.
Come to church with me after 3 months. Yeah, come see. Who am I? You know, it's like my mentor used to say when I was young. He was like, after third date, go to the guy's house. Go see if he lives alone, he has a wife or not.
Just to make sure.
Exactly. Because, I mean, this is South Africa.
Anything is possible. In South, alive with possibilities. It's 11:30. You know how many times there have been pictures trending of someone who was getting married, and it's always someone in Limpopo. Somehow there's like, there's someone who's getting married in Limpopo. The girlfriend finds out on social media.
And she's bought the car for the wife. Yeah.
You remember that one? All right, let's get the latest in Eyewitness News headlines. We'll come back with more of your calls and WhatsApps as we continue our conversation about the importance of compatibility in relationships.
Travel isn't just about destinations. It's about the people you meet, the cultures you immerse yourself in, the stories you carry home. I'm Mabocha, and on my travel feature, I take you on a journey beyond the guidebook. Each week, I connect with fellow travelers, insiders, and storytellers to bring you the heart of every place. Whether it's a hidden gem right here in South Africa or a dream destination abroad. Join me as we travel through conversations, memories, and inspiration. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Relationship issues
Relationship Talk.
on 702.
24 minutes before 12 o'clock, we're talking about compatibility in relationships, in marriages. Are you compatible with your partner? How do you measure compatibility? Have you been with someone who's not, that you're not compatible with? And how did that affect the relationship? We're taking your calls on 011-883-0702, WhatsApps on 072-702-1702. KG, you're calling from Kempton Park. Good morning.
Morning, Clement.
Sure, man. Go ahead.
Sharp. Yeah, so with me and my partner, what makes us compatible is that, I'm a quiet type, you know. My wife is like loud. Say if there's a situation, you know, she's quick to react, and I'm the one who would be able to calm down the situation. For example, when we have to do laundry, I don't like having to go fetch the washing from the washing line and pack it. She does it easily. She doesn't like doing the dishes. I enjoy doing the dishes, you know. So that's what makes us, what works for us. And we've been together since 2010.
Wow, that's incredible, KG. That's amazing. Thank you, man. Thank you for sharing that with us, KG in Kempton Park. That's what compatibility is to him and his wife. John, you are in Bryanston. Hi.
Yes, John Baptiste. I've got 2 points I want to make, and I'd love to hear what your coach says.
Sure.
The 2 things that drive men and women in their most basic form is food and sex.
Food?
Okay?
Did you say food?
And sex.
Okay.
And sex. And the reason I say that is if you master these two, you can master yourself. Because if you can control your libido, you can control a lot of things in life. And you can control a lot of outcomes. But I want to go back to what she previously said about values. I think what we forget is principle. Okay? So if you start with principle, a principle is a non-negotiable. In other words, I do not steal, I do not do drugs, and I do not take abuse. Those are 3 examples. If you then look at a value is a learned behavior. So values can change. Principles don't. So in your darkest moments in life where you're confronted with something and you need to make a decision and your partner says, let's put that heroin injection into my arm. You're going to say on principle, I will not do that, and you will back that principle. But a value can change. I love you so much, yes, I'll try it. So I think those 2 things, if you can just talk to principle and value, because if we're trying to understand each other, first start with principle, because your partner may say, for example, I don't like going night clubbing and being out late at night and drinking. Now that can be a big problem if your partner likes dancing and those kind of things. But you can learn that behavior through compromising, but you will never compromise a principle.
Yeah. And what about food? You mentioned food there. Where does that come in?
That's actually
Well, I'm just saying it's a basic need, because if we don't eat, we die.
Okay. I got you. All right, John. Thank you, John in Bryanston.
I think the sex part is actually quite interesting and a very good point, because I think when he said, if you can master yourself, you can master anything. And I think there's a lot of, especially people who are very flexible around commitment, right? And especially when they argue that I was driven by my physiological need to seek sex, right? You can master that part. I think a lot of people will stay out of trouble. And then he said something interesting about principles, right? And saying that, a principle is almost like a non-negotiable. And I think that's very interesting. I think maybe my question would be, do a lot of people know what their principles are? Because a lot of people, like he was saying, we mustn't confuse values to principles. And I find that when I meet a lot of people, they don't know who they are. They don't even know that when I say this is a non-negotiable, is it me or is it something that I was told that it's a non-negotiable? I'll give you an example. There's a lot of women who've been told that if he cheats, you must leave. I can confirm right now, there's probably about 60% of women out there where if he cheats, they will not necessarily leave. And also, when somebody cheats, it's based on where you are at that point in time. It does not necessarily mean that cheating will mean the same thing to you at 50 as it will at 25, right? And what happens is that there's a lot of women out there where they are encountered with a situation that's difficult in their relationship, and then they start applying the non-negotiables of others. Not to say that you must forgive cheaters. Please don't misquote me. But I'm just making that example to say, when it's something that the world says this is a non-negotiable, a lot of people don't know whether it's their principle that is saying no to this, or is because in some dating book written by Dudu somewhere, she said if a man cheats, you must leave this man. And I think that's very important. And it goes back to self-knowledge, to being able to understand why is my no a no? Why is this a non-negotiable? I always say, if my husband came and said he wanted a second wife, he doesn't need a second wife because she'll be the first, because I won't be there to be a wife, right? And I know this because I've explored it through various situations where either a partner cheated or somebody wanted to present this value proposition. And I'm like, I really believe I'm hot and I can find somebody who can love me. Why would I stick around in this particular relationship? But I know that's my non-negotiable. It has nothing to do with how polygamy has been positioned in society or my views, my intellectual views about polygamy. It is who I am, right? And it's easy to impose that. But let's say, for example, a proposition comes into my marriage, which I've never really thought about that particular thing. I would have to pause before I actually say from a principle perspective, this is my principle or not. Because if I've never explored that part of me, I'm not sure whether I'll be making the best decision for myself.
Oh, I love that. I often say to my friends that that's why I don't like self-help books, because I do think that we end up applying the same formulas in our lives that may not necessarily work for us. Like, 5 a.m. club or whatever. Those are formulas that have worked for those people, and they may not work for me. And I mean, good for them. It's worked. And yes, there are other people who may try that. even like advise on like people who go read something as leave when he cheats or do this. And sometimes you just take that as it is and you're applying it.
And you don't apply it in the context of your world.
Of your own world.
And I think, Shem, should come to the defense of a lot of the self-help book writers, right? Most of the time, they're trying to communicate a principle. To say, you know what, these are the principles that make up a good relationship or make you successful and so forth. But sometimes they're written from their perspective so much that it's their voice and not necessarily the intention that is being communicated. And that's why I always say to, like, for example, my clients, I'm like, I teach you the principles. How you apply it is based on your personality, where you come from, your preferences, your context in life, and all these other things. But for example, if the principle is, if you don't love yourself, no one's going to love you. How you exercise self-love is different, right? Whether you go for a 5-kilometer run or you love yourself or you shout on top of the mountain, that's you. That's an expression of who you are. But the principle is that, research has shown that if you love yourself,
you're gonna, Some people just take it as it is. Verbatim, and they're like, I'm applying it exactly like this. And I'm like, but you are not that person. It's going to be different to you. Samantha, you're in Midrand. What are your thoughts on this? Good morning.
Hi, Clem. How are you?
Hi, Sam. I'm good. How are you?
You're in Diagoa. Yeah. Hi, Dudu.
Hello, Samantha.
I was on a talking phase with this guy for 2 months, right?
Okay. What? Talking phase for 2 months?
Yeah.
Okay.
I asked him, why haven't you asked me to be your girlfriend? And he was like, no, I feel like we need to exhaust knowing each other. And I was like, there's no way you can exhaust knowing someone.
Yes.
I mean, people can be married for more than 40 years. We still can't say they really, really know each other like that, But anyway, we had whatever we had. And then on Friday, he decided to break up with me because he believes that we don't share the same values. And when I asked, what are those values? Only to find that he took the stories that I shared of my friends' relationships, consolidated them, and felt like, I don't think this would work. So, for example, my friend is dating a gangster or someone who abuses alcohol or whatever, and I then share the relationship that my friend has. That has nothing to do with me. I've got no influence in what my friend thinks. Chances are I only see my friend once or twice in a year. And they're adults. They're doing what they
she's an adult, yeah.
Exactly. But he came back to me and he was like, this won't work for me because you're romanticizing this relationship. That didn't make sense to me. I think till today, I'm still trying to understand why someone would come back and say this is not working because of your friend's relationship. I don't know.
Yeah,
Samantha, do you want the truth or the truth?
I mean, go already, so I might as well.
That guy was making excuses. He was not really into you. If a guy is into you, not even his wife can stop him. Not that I'm saying people must be with married men, but nothing on this planet will stop a guy, right?
I believe so too.
We as women, we will dump a man because he's an alcoholic, or let's say, for example, we'll dump a man because he's broke, and a man will marry you just because you're broke. When a man is into you, nothing. The fact that your friend is dancing on tabletops and stuff like that, he's not going to leave you for that. He might express his opinion, but he's not going to leave you. This guy was just wasting your time, to be quite honest. He was being selfish, and that is an excuse. Don't make it a reflection on you. Don't make it a reflection of your future encounters. He was just not worth it, and just because you didn't see your value doesn't mean a man out there won't see your value.
See your value. And what happens, like imagine you ended up with him, Samantha, and one time you're out with your friend. The next thing is he's going to have issues with you being friends with that friend now.
Exactly.
It's like, why are you friends with this person?
He couldn't even leave me alone at his house. Surely he thought that my friend's boyfriend will come and steal his things. I don't know.
He was, he's got stuff.
Samantha, go out there and find a new boo, all right?
Stop go-ashing. He's not worth the pain. Don't even think about him. Go on a date. Find somebody. Tinder for one day. Something.
Join a running club. Apparently that's the place.
Yeah,
now.
the Marrows one.
It's 13 minutes now before 12.
Over the years, you've heard me ask Wealth Manager Warren Ingram the big questions. How do we invest wisely? How do we protect our family's future? All those conversations, that entire library of financial expertise is now available as a podcast. Straightforward advice to help you build your wealth on demand. Just search for Warren Ingram's Personal Finance wherever you get your podcasts.
Relationship issues
Relationship Talk.
on 702.
11 minutes before 12 o'clock. Okay, so let's go to Tabo, who's calling from Johannesburg. Tibos, good morning.
Hey, Clem, how's it?
Sure, man. Go ahead.
Oh, thanks, Clem. So here's the thing. I'm in a relationship about 7 months now.
Yeah.
With admitted attorney, and I am a nurse by profession. So the thing is now she's got a very, very demanding job. Always at work. And then she gets to me probably very late at night. Very late at night. Yeah, and then I'm free for rest of the day because I regulated my hours due to the work I do.
Yeah.
Oh man, emotionally I feel like we're not connected because I think one thing that has that's keeping us together, I feel like it's great sex, of which I have no issues with that.
Yeah.
But everything else, whenever I try to connect with her emotionally, it's only when we're together. Let's say I'm spending a weekend with her, we'll be great together. But the minute I move away, oh man, I feel like I'm forgotten. I'm alive. You know, I just have to send a text. We send a text now. It's answered at night. You know, I would send a good morning text. Hey babe, how's it? I love you, man. I miss you. I hope you have a great day. And then she just blue ticks me and then comes back to me at 9 at night. And like, hi babe, how's the day? You know, and I'm like, geez, then I try to raise these things, but to her, it's like, why do you have a problem with this? Because, you know, babe, I'm going to get back to you. I love you. You know I love you. And I'm like, geez, man, you know, that's it.
So you don't know where she is the whole day since you said good morning until she texts you back at 9 p.m. to respond to your good morning message?
You are projecting.
I know her very well that she's at work. She's at work until 6:30, 7 at night. And then she goes out to have fun with friends and stuff like that, and comes back to me even later than that, at like 10:30, 11, you know? Yeah, but I mean,
It's Tibos,
emotionally, I feel like we're not close.
Yeah, and you guys have been together for 7 months, yeah?
We've been together for 7 months.
Yeah, and you love her. You want this to work.
Oh, I love her, man, to bits.
Yeah. Oh, the line is breaking there.
There's a couple of scenarios here. She could either be with an emotionally unavailable person. And usually emotionally unavailable people just generally are not as responsive and also are not aware that they're not emotionally available. They are emotionally unavailable, right? So it could be that. It could be she's not that into you, right? Because when we like people, we think about them all the time, right? The other thing that he could probably do is start structuring days where they agree that these are the times where we emotionally connect. Whether, you know, the 30 minutes we're on a call. How about your day and so forth and whatever, you know, somewhere during the day and so forth. So he could try that. And if maybe he determines that she's emotionally unavailable, the first thing that would need to sort that thing out is therapy. There's no amount of love that's going to sort that out. If the person is not aware and is not doing something about it.
Yeah, show them where that is hurting you, Tibo. So maybe try therapy. All the best, man. Tabo in Johannesburg. Noni, you're in Joburg as well. Hi.
Hi, Clement.
Sure.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes. So my comment is just about the fact that I think couples, before getting married, need to be a little bit more serious and honest about a spiritual compatibility, because someone's belief shapes their whole life. It shapes what they think about who woke them up this morning, right? So it becomes difficult then to try and reconcile those issues in a marriage once you're married, because a person will not change the way they believe. And I want to take it a step further to say, okay, don't just ask, are we both Christians? But go further and say, what do we believe as Christians? Because there are 1,000 denominations out there, you know, and I have an experience of that. If you're in a marriage with someone you don't agree with in things of your faith, it causes a rift. It causes constant conflict. It makes your marriage miserable, especially if for you, your faith is number one on the list in the things that you value, you know. So you end up resenting everything because you can't share, because also life is about sharing. You wish you could share, stuff about your faith with the person you are in love with, but you can't because you are two worlds apart.
Yeah.
And on raising children, running a household, it's all founded on what you believe.
Yeah.
But it won't be an easy one if you don't agree. If there's no agreement, where can you go?
Yeah, and the thing is, people, when it comes to faith, people are rigid about that, right? There's no flexibility of, okay, let's meet each other somewhere.
Yeah, so...
Is that important, spiritual compatibility?
So how I'm going to answer the question is that we can't assume that, there's no formula in terms of when you're going to meet the love of your life. And we can't assume that people meet the love of their life when they have self-knowledge and also when they are mature. Right. And it doesn't necessarily mean just because people meet each other young, lack experience, or are not mature, that the relationship has the likelihood to fail. So it's one thing to meet people who are deep in their faith, to meet a person deep in their faith and they know themselves and you know yourself. It's easy to have those conversations around our spirituality. But sometimes you can meet somebody who's still exploring themselves, who's a great lover to you, but is still exploring themselves. You might have that conversation. But 5 years down the line, that person might be a different person altogether. And maybe what we need to master is not necessarily do we get perfection from the start? Do we iron out certain issues? Is how do we hold space for each other? Psychology says people evolve every 7 or 9 years. Like I always say to my husband, the woman you're dating and the woman you married. It's two different people, right? And how do we hold space for each other so that when people go through their various forms of evolution, when people grow in the process, how do you sit and say, I'm going to hold space for this person and I'm not going to be rigid in my view of the world? Because the thing is, if you sit and you say, we signed up for this in our marriage when we started, just as 10 years down the line, you're going to be disappointed if you're going to measure your marriage on what you signed up for.
Based on what happened 20 years ago.
Change. We're different. We evolve. The world changes. Sometimes we change our mind and all these other things. But if you hold space for a person, you're more likely to receive them and receive them with care.
Yeah. Let's wrap up with this voice note.
Hi, 702. So I am a female in the mid-30s. And on the issue of, or on the topic that you currently have about compatibility, I want to find out how I can more easily meet people who are professionally or in terms of their goals, who are more compatible with me, as opposed to what I have previously met, which are people who seem to want to create more of an emotional attachment, but not necessarily build and progress with me. So maybe it's the way I'm coming across or the way I'm presenting myself. But how do I meet my equal? Let me word it like that.
Got it. Yeah. Dudu, I've got 10 seconds left.
Market entry strategy. You need to position yourself in the segments that you want to play in, and then you have to become what segments you're looking for.
So, where guy?
So, what happens is that she's leveled up and she's still playing the spaces where she was before.
Yeah.
So, she has
to level up.
Do an MBA. So, lots of single men in business schools go on the how train. At least they go to work. Like something. But define the segments and play in those segments.
I want us to talk more about that. So, we should bring you back to just chat about that. Dudu, thank you so much. You've been great. I really appreciate your time. That's Dudu Nhlabathi-Madonsela, who's a relationship coach.
Travel isn't just about destinations. It's about the people you meet, the cultures you immerse yourself in, the stories you carry home. I'm Mabotja, and on my travel feature, I take you on a journey beyond the guidebook. Each week, I connect with fellow travelers, insiders, and storytellers to bring you the heart of every place. Whether it's a hidden gem right here in South Africa or a dream destination abroad. Join me as we travel through conversations, memories, and inspiration. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.